not only that, he's one of the funniest people I know. Just such a
sailor?
Yeah, he is a sailor. He took me sailing. Not many black people go sailing, but Michael took me sailing. It's a true story, based on a true story. Yeah, he was one of my good friends, very funny. He once was in a Vietnamese male beauty pageant, which he might tell you about later. Please put up for my good friend Michael Belkey, everyone.
Yeah, so an interesting thing about me, at my job one day, there was this nurse that said, "He's Kiki." She was talking to another nurse in Tagalog, which is what they speak in the Philippines, and I know some Tagalog, but I did not know what Kiki meant. I asked the other nurses, "Oh, what does Kiki mean?" And nobody would tell me, and then I Googled it on my phone, and my phone said that Kiki means vagina. So she was saying he is vagina, and I had no idea what it meant, so I kept trying to find out from different people. I still actually don't know what it means to be called a vagina, but I have some guesses. One of my guesses is that she was calling me a vagina because I'm warm and entertaining. At least I believe that's the case. That makes the most sense to me. But being a vagina is not my disability. My disability is that I'm on the autism spectrum. And what was it? So it's interesting. So in February 2022, I went on this date with somebody who said I was fun to talk with, a bunch of other compliments, but she also rejected me because she said that I wasn't confident and didn't have self-love, and I was very surprised. It's interesting too, after one of my sets when I performed about this once, somebody came to it after me and was "Oh, don't worry, you'll be confident one day." And I'll share a secret with you guys, because you guys seem like a decent crowd. It actually takes confidence to be good at doing stand-up. So I felt confident my whole life, but the interesting thing is that it wasn't until this date, it was cool. People think, "Oh, she rejected you, that's bad," but this was actually the best the date could have gone in the sense that she explained everything about social interaction that I didn't know before. She explained about shoulder positioning, spine positioning and stuff, so it never mattered if I felt confident enough or not. There were all these little details involved in dating and social interaction and stuff that nobody had told me about. And it's interesting too, it makes sense in hindsight. I've been playing chess since age 4. So I said, if I'm 29 now, that means I've been playing chess longer than some of you have been alive. But for me, when I look at a chessboard, I know what move it is or whatever. But if a lot of people were looking at a chessboard, they maybe just move a piece randomly and have no idea what to do. That's sort of what social interaction can be like if you have no idea what's going on or whatever. But moving on, let's see. So that date, she explained social interaction to me, but she also said, "You are the best, but you don't know you're the best. You're extremely intelligent, but you don't know you're extremely intelligent." And that was definitely one of the best compliments I've ever had on a date. That's a better compliment than some of the people I've had sex with. And then so it was interesting. I had this experience where I saw, after her explaining social interaction to me for 2 weeks, I had this experience where I saw 25 years of my life for 2 hours. It was in fast forward sort of, and it was really wild. I confirmed it with a bunch of people I know. I remembered my friend's password from 17 years ago, and I asked him about it. I was like, "Hey, was your password 17 years ago 963484933728?" And he was like, "Yeah, it was." And then I was like, "Well, to be honest, that wasn't actually his password. That was actually his social security number." I'm pretty sure it'd be bad to tell everyone his password just in case he didn't change it. But all the stuff that she told me about social interaction, it was actually legit, and most of my friends are women, so I got to check it with them, and it's really wild. In October of last year was the first time in my life that somebody told me that they non-platonically love me, and then I'm not with that person now because I know enough about social interaction to know not to just be attracted to someone just because they said they love you or whatever. But they're not that bad of a person, though. Not that bad. But yeah, it's I can see for miles, and before I couldn't even see myself at all. It's so wild to see how, like I didn't just see my life when I saw my whole life. I also saw how like even if I had been a woman, like I would have probably had relationships, but it just would have been terrible relationships because like all those factors of body language and being over apologetic that I had. If I had been a woman, those would have likely played into like me having a bunch of abusive relationships and stuff. And it's so wild. Like for example, a date with that woman, she was an engineer by the way. She explained social interaction to me. And like it makes sense that she definitely had to have been on the autism spectrum because only somebody on the autism spectrum could explain social interaction to someone else. If she had been raised on a regular person, it would have been like, oh, you just do what you do, you know? And like on that date with her, like at one point, like I was wearing a mask at the beginning and she said, oh, you can take that off. And I said, oh, sorry. And I said sorry multiple other times on a date. And like, I feel like a lot of times I perform this on stage, people have frowned at me when I've mentioned that saying sorry can prevent you from having relationships. But like, as like the way to look at it is that if you were to say sorry 1 million times, assuming it took you like 3 seconds to say sorry each time, it would take you like 11.57 days to say sorry 1 million times. So somewhere in between 0 and 1 million times is like the appropriate number of times to say sorry. So if somebody like bumps into you at a grocery store or whatever, that's not necessarily the time to say sorry. Anyway. Let's see what it's. Oh yeah, so like moving on to something completely different. Like there was this like story in the news about this woman who was a cop that had sex with a bunch of her coworkers and lost her job, but like it's really wild to me. Like I feel like it really shows a lot about the police that like there are so many police saying negative things about her. Like I feel like that's not somebody that somebody should say negative things about. Like I feel like everything about the story sounds like she had a lot of empathy, good communication skills, good scheduling skills, attentive, like everything I see about it, like I feel like she should have been promoted and got a raise. And I was telling some people about this and they were saying, well, she's a cop, but like I understand what the person was saying, but in my mind I was thinking like, you have to think of it as like a hierarchy of cops, like I feel like cops that aren't actively murdering me are not that bad. And then like cops that are just having sex with everybody and trying to make everybody happy, I feel like those would be like higher up. Like I feel like we need more people who have empathy with guns as opposed to people without empathy. And but like for me personally, like if I could like have known social interaction forever, it would have been cool if I just met one person and slowly become a raisin with them over the course of like 70 years or so, as opposed to having a large number of intimate partners or whatever. And then what else was it? Oh yeah, like another metaphor for it is that like a good way to look at it is like if there was a tsunami of turds coming at you, like you shouldn't focus on any of the turds. You should focus on if there was like one piece of ice cream that came at you and hit you in the face. Like you just focus on that one piece of ice cream and none of the turds that hit you in the face. Because like even if life is full of turds, like there's always at least like one scoop of ice cream somewhere. And I saw this TikTok recently where this black woman was saying that like autism is like a fad or whatever, like all these people on TikTok and other things saying they're autistic or whatever, but like I feel like she's wrong and doesn't realize it. So the thing about it is like if your parents are older, you're more likely to be on the autism spectrum. If your parents are older, you're also more likely to be queer. So I feel like there's going to be a future where basically everyone is either autistic or queer or both. I feel like pretty much everyone I meet who's Gen Z seems to be autistic or queer or both, and like I totally believe them. Like I think it's legit. And then like, what else was it? Like, let's see. Oh, so like I had some interesting experiences in Montreal. I was there for a week in September last year. Like this one interesting experience, like I was having a one-night stand with this woman, and like at one point during the intimacy, she said, "Do you want to do 50 Shades of Grey?" And I didn't really believe, I just paused there. I didn't really believe what I was hearing. I was thinking like either she doesn't know what BDSM is and wants to do BDSM, or she means something completely different. Like, if for those of you who don't know Montreal, it's in Quebec, Canada, and they speak French as their first language, so English was not her first language. So like I asked for clarification, and she said, "Oh, I just meant, do you want to do different positions?" I was very surprised by that. And then like, I had this other interesting experience in Montreal where like I hung out with this woman for like 7 hours or so and like talked with her. I met her at this music festival. And then the next day we were in a group of women. It was me, her, and a bunch of other women. And like she was saying, she said, I want to get fucked like a boo. I have no idea what the last word was, but I heard the first part was, I want to get fucked. Then I asked, what was it that you said? She said, I want to get fucked like a boo. Like it was some word, like she was speaking English. I had no idea what the word after that was. And then like, I didn't know what the last word was, so I just raised my hand and said, oh, I think I could do that. And then like she said, just one more? Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, cool. So anyway, so like she said, "Oh, you're way too nice for me." I was like, "Oh, that's okay." Like, but it's also the wild thing too about understanding social interaction now is like, you can, if you actually understand social interaction, you see that there's no such thing as like good guys and bad guys or whatever. It's like there's this like spectrum of self-love where if somebody has too much love for others and not enough for themselves, it can actually make them seem unattractive to some people. Then for some people, there's different varying levels of that. It's really fascinating how that works, and there's no punchline on that part. I kind of wish I could stand on a stage for like several days and just slowly explain social interaction from like every perspective, but like, an interesting thing about me, a lot of my friends are gay women, and like, I was in Vancouver in December at this thing, and like there was this woman I was dancing with, and like I knew she was gay, but I wanted her to tell me that, but I wasn't sure how to get her to tell me. So like, at one point, like I was sitting on a couch with her at the place, and like our thighs were touching, and like I was thinking like, oh, I know. So I decided to like slowly head towards her. So I was like, oh, like a lot of cool women I know are gay, and I mentioned like, oh, like this jacket that I'm wearing, this was gifted to me by a lesbian friend of mine. It's a women's jacket or whatever. And then eventually, after enough hints, she eventually told me she was gay, which I already knew. And like, it was interesting though. Like she ended up saying she loves women, but she just has sex with men and breaks their hearts. And like, yeah, it was really interesting. I was like, I'm glad. Like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's one of those things where like I could have potentially had intimacy with this person, but it's like, I feel like it's better off for both people that we did it. Like, I don't know. I feel like just having sex with men and breaking their hearts, I feel like that's easier to do in a country where guns are less common, which is a good thing about Canada. But like, another story, so I had a lesbian coworker who got me a job in this kitchen, and one day like the boss had her chopping up a bunch of vegetables and things, and she really didn't want to, and she kept almost cutting herself. And so then like at one point when she almost cut herself, she yelled, "Y'all act like my..." Wait, what was it? "Y'all act like my fingers ain't my dick." Which I feel like that was like the funniest thing I've ever heard, and like the thing about it is like nobody laughed or anything, like everybody was just acting like it was just a normal day. And like I see like somebody almost cutting their finger off and then saying, "Y'all ain't acting like my fingers ain't my dick." There's just something about it that just sticks with me, like acting like, because I get it though, like that's another crazy thing too. So like a lot of people, like I really wanted social interaction to be explained to me before I turned 28. It would have been nice if I had explained it like age 12 or whatever, but like, so it's an interesting way to look at it, like based on what some straight women have told me, like a bunch of men and other people don't know how to have sex and stuff, so it's like, if I hadn't met so many gay women and so many other experiences, like I wouldn't know how to have sex correctly. So it's like some people go their whole life not knowing how to have sex, and like I almost went my whole life not knowing how social interaction works. But yeah, I believe that's probably like the last one I can do. Okay, thank you. That was my set.